great start to the week. Okay, so today what we're going to look at is we are going to look at multiplying and dividing fractions, but obviously with the factorization that we've been talking about over the last couple of lessons. Now, before we dive into factorization, I needed to make sure you actually remember, because we haven't dealt with this for quite a while, we need to check that you remember how to do multiplication of fractions and multiplication or division of fractions. Okay. So if I have two fractions like this, where I have a half times 4/3, who can tell me what they think our options are in this situation? What can I do? Tiana, can you tell me what I can do?
Babe, I think you must say 1 times 4 and 2 times 3.
Okay, so multiply our top and multiply our bottom and our bottom, and then we would get 4/6.
Yes.
Okay, can I simplify that though?
I don't know.
Okay, so I'm gonna pass the mic on to someone else, but thank you for the start. I think Unati, your hand was up. I am gonna try and put you on the spot a little bit over here, because I want to know if there was another way for me to start this without multiplying the top by the top. If you can suggest another way for me to start.
Ma'am, you have to find the same denominator. The denominator.
Oh no, don't walk into my trap. We only find the same denominator for plusing and minusing, never for timesing and dividing. So not a common denominator. We don't want a common denominator. Angela, do you think you can help me a little bit?
I think we're going to cross multiply the numbers.
So we're going to, it's very close what you're saying. We are going to do something with a cross, but instead of saying cross multiply, we're going to do cross simplify. So when we cross simplify, we look at our diagonals like this and we see, is there something common where we could cancel? So for example, 2 can go into itself once and 2 can go into 4 2 times. And then we multiply our top and our top. So 1 times 2 is 2 and 1 times 3 is 3. And if I was to finish this one over here, 4/6, if I was simplifying, if I divided both of those by 2, I would also get 2/3. So I land up getting to the same answer. So you're going to be like, well, if you get to the same answer, why do I have to cross simplify? The reason I'm talking about cross simplifying is because when we start working with factorization, cross simplifying is our friend. Okay, so the important thing about cross simplifying is, I'm just going to write it like this. So cross simplifying. When we cross simplify, we have to have a denominator, and let me use a different color so you can see my green over there. We have to have a denominator and a numerator. We can't cross simplify 2 numerators or 2 denominators. It has to be one of each. Okay, so that's if we were to doing cross simplification, but we get to this answer of 2/3. If we are looking at B, how would I start doing a question like B? What would be my first start over there? Artile, I think your hand was up. You just need to unmute on your side, sweetheart. There we go. Hello.
I'm sorry, ma'am. I wanted to answer the simplifying.
Okay. Do you think you could help us a little bit here, or are you feeling a bit lost? What's your gut telling you to do?
I'm not sure, but I think we can also cross multiply.
Okay, we definitely are going to cross simplify, but we have to do something first. But thank you so much, and hopefully you will answer a question for us a bit later. Yes, I'm seeing some great answers in the chat. We're going to keep, change, and flip. Remember, this is our situation of KFC. This is when we think about chicken. Okay, so we need to start associating divide signs with fraction with KFC. And KFC stands for, the K stands for keep, the F stands for flip, and the C stands for change. So what that means is we keep our first fraction. Okay, we keep our first fraction. We change or flip the second fraction. Let's just do it in the order. So flip the second fraction and then we change the sign. Okay, so keep the first fraction. Flip the second fraction. Last step, change the sign. KFC. Okay.
Oh, KFC. Now I'm hungry.
Oh no. Yolanda, Asanda can't hear me. Do you mind helping out there? So now that we have done KFC, now we can treat it like a normal multiplication sum. And so we can just deal with what we're wanting to deal with. So here I can say, well, 2 can go into itself once and can go into 4 2 times. And 3 can go into itself once and into 27 9 times. Oh, not 3, 9 times. And so what I land up with is 1 over 1 times 9 over 2. 1 times 9 is 9, and 1 times 2 is 2. So that's my answer. Okay, so first step is to just know that we're going to do KFC when we see a divide sum, and then we're going to think about cross simplifying. Okay. And Pumi, can I help?
Hi, ma'am.
Cool.
I just wanted to ask about keep. Do we always have to like keep it 2 over 3 on that
Yeah,
side? Do we always
your first fraction always stays the same. Never ever change the first fraction.
Oh, okay. Thank you, ma'am.
Sure, no problem. Okay, cool. Now that we are happy in fractions, let's start bringing in some factorization. We are not winning. What's wrong? Why are we not winning? What's going on? Oh, I am not even going to attempt this name. Yolanda, do you think how do I say this name? I'm gonna butcher it. I know I am. Help me out here.
Conge.
No, not King. Oh, so in with a hand up. It's got a Q. I know there's a Q click happening in there.
Kawe.
Let's try and unmute there. Hi.
Hello, ma'am.
Can you tell me how to say your name correctly so I don't mess it up in the future?
It's Kawe.
Oh, it's the click. It's the Q click. I struggle with this Q click so much. Okay, but I will try. All right. How can I help?
Ma'am, I still don't understand the KFC thing, ma'am. Like the fraction KFC thing. I still don't get it.
Okay, I'll go through that again. Because I see there's also a few people confused in the chat, so I'll happily go through that one again. Okay. Precious.
Ma'am, may I ask, do you have to keep it as an improper fraction, or can you change it into a mixed fraction?
In high school, it's better to keep it as an improper unless you're dealing with a word sum. Then it's probably best to keep it as an improper.
Thank you, ma'am.
Sure. Okay. All right, guys, let's try another one where we're dividing before we move on into factorization. Okay, so let's say we have let's say 5 over 7 divided by 25 over 14. Okay, so let's just think about what we're going to do. We're going to do our KFC process, okay, which means we're going to keep our first fraction exactly the same. That's what the K stands for. Then we are going to flip the second fraction. So we're going to flip our second fraction, which means we're putting what was at the bottom at the top and what was at the top at the bottom. And then our last step here is that we change the sign. So we change this divide sign to a time sign. That's our first step to deal with our division. Okay, so now we're left with 5 over 7 times 14 over 25. When we get to this point over here, then we're going to say, is there a way for us to cross simplify? So if I look at these two, so 7 and 14, is there a number that can go into both of those numbers? And I know that 7 can go into itself once, and 7 can go into 14 2 times. So I can simplify that to a 1 and a 2. Then I look at these guys over here, and I say, is there a number that can go into 5 and 25? Yeah. 5 can go into itself once, and 5 can go into 25 5 times. So I'm left with, I'm left with 1 over 1 times 2 over 5, which gives me 2 over 5 as my answer. And that's where we end. Hopefully that has cleared it up a little bit for all of you. And we're going to try and dive into some factorization now. No, Yolanda, we are doing factorization. It's just we need to understand this before we start bringing in some more complicated things, because otherwise all the wheels fall off the bus. Yusuf, how can I help?
Good evening, ma'am.
Good
I
evening.
wanted to ask if I could just like if you could move to the top a little, so I could like screenshot.
Just like that?
Thank you, ma'am.
Sure, no problem. Okay. Propello, can I help?
Hi, ma'am.
Hi,
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. Can you like at least repeat the KFC thing again? Because I'm kind of confused.
Okay, so I'm not going to go through it again right now, just because we're going to speak about it more when we start dealing with some of the questions. Okay, so I will keep on bringing it up as we're moving through, and then if you're still feeling super lost at like in the next question when we start bringing it in, then we'll talk about it again over there. But don't panic, we'll be talking about it as we move through the lesson. All right.
I'm also young, Pilar.
Exactly, Yolanda is there. She's there to help you. Okay, so let's try and jump into some things. So let's have a look here. So again, this is our very first situation when we're dealing with a divide. I'm going to kind of try and walk you through this, but if you have done these in class already or you're feeling confident with them, you're welcome to work on it by yourself and sort of check that you're on the right track. When we're doing a question like this, the first thing for us to notice is there a division sign? Okay, sorry, I just want this pen to be a little skinnier. If there's a division sign, the first thing we want to do is we want to make sure everything is being multiplied. Okay, so if there is a division sign, we want to change it to a times. And the way we do that is by doing KFC. Okay, so when I say in KFC, I'm meaning we are keeping our first fraction. Okay, keep the first fraction. So we're keeping x, and I'm just going to put this in a bracket over here. We're allowed to put brackets on the outside if we want to. So I'm keeping my x, and that's over x over 2. Then the second step here is we are going to flip the second fraction. So this dude over here, we are going to flip it around. Just want to give us a little bit more space. Okay, so we're going to flip the second fraction. So what was at the bottom is now at the top, and what was at the top is now at the bottom. That was my flip. Okay, and our last step is we change the sign. So we change that from a divide to a times. That's our first goal. If there's a division sign, we want to change it to a multiplication sign. Okay. Second thing we want to do is say, what can we factorize? Okay, so let's have a look at this step by step. X, there's nothing for me to factorize. It's just x. X minus 2, there's also nothing for me to factorize. It's as simplified as it can be. But what could I do with x squared minus 4? What could I do with x squared minus 4? I can definitely factorize x squared minus 4. Dots, exactly. I'm going to do dots. Okay, I'm going to do difference of 2 squares. Good job, guys. So I'm going to keep my first term the same. I'm going to keep my x over x minus 2 because there's nothing I can do. And then I'm going to do difference of 2 squares up here. So I'm going to have x plus 2, x minus 2. Cool. Down here, what could I factorize there? I've got x squared plus x. What can I take out? Fatima, excellent. I'm going to take out a highest common factor, and I'm going to take out a highest common factor of x. So down here at the bottom, I'm going to take out x as my highest common factor and be left with x plus 1. Okay. Now, if you're doing this in a test, at this point, you've already got a lot of marks, okay? You get a mark for doing your tip and times. So you get a mark for changing that divide sign to a time sign and for changing the order of your second fraction. Then you would get a mark for doing difference of 2 squares over here and a mark for doing a highest common factor. So right now, we're already sitting on 3 marks, which is great. Then we look at how can we cross simplify, okay? Now, cross simplify was that last step where we look at a denominator and a numerator and we see what do they have in common, okay? So we're looking at those two, for example. What is there that's common in both of those? There's the x minus 2. So I can cancel that x minus 2 with that x minus 2. I can also cancel that x with that x because it's one numerator and one denominator. We can do it as long as it's one numerator and one denominator. And then we just write what we're left with. We're left with x plus 2 at the top and x plus 1 at the bottom. And that's it. Now, can someone tell me, am I allowed to cancel out those x's? Mpumi, am I allowed to cancel out those x's?
Yes, ma'am, you're allowed to.
I'm not allowed to. You're in my trap. Can you think about why I'm not allowed to?
I'm not sure, hey, because I thought x and x can go into each other, so which is
No,
gonna be
it's a very normal trap to fall into, so don't panic. You have got good company. Lots of people would have done the same. Let's see if someone can help you. Fatu, can you help? Am I allowed to cancel out those x's?
No, ma'am.
Why?
And because it is not one term.
Yes, good. Okay, this is not one term. There are these pluses here, and those pluses are making it 2 terms, and we can't cancel across terms. Beautiful. Yes. Good. Thank you for falling into my trap, guys. That is what I want. Okay, you can also think of them, you don't have to write them like this. You could have written them as, I'm just trying to get rid of this highlighter. Okay, you could also have kept them in their brackets and then basically think about it as I can only cancel out if the bracket is exactly the same with each other. Okay, this was our first question like this. We haven't done any like this before. So I'm sure some people are feeling a little bit like stressed or confused or distressed, any one of those adjectives. But don't panic, it's our first one. You will get the hang of them in time. Okay. All the adjectives. Okay, if you're wanting to get a picture of this question, now is the time, and then I'm going to move down.
Screenshot time, guys. Screenshot time. I can
Exactly.
see Misho, are you taking a screenshot?
No, it's not necessary to keep them in brackets. You can keep them in brackets, but you don't have to. It's up to you. Okay. Cool. Let's give this one a try. Now, this one doesn't have a divide sign, so we don't have to do that first step. So our goal is to basically be like, what can we factorize? And that's the only one that we'd be able to factorize. So I want you to think about how we could factorize that and then what this would look like. So try and do this whole question and see how it goes. Don't panic about it. The only thing you really need to think about right now is how do I factorize that thing that I've highlighted in yellow? So whatever I've highlighted in yellow is going to go at the top and everything else is going to stay the same for the first step. So I just want to know what this is going to become over here.
You guys
Don't
are
panic.
doing really well. Yeah,
All you need to think about is how can we factorize that yellow highlight? Nkateko, how can I help?
Hi, ma'am.
Hi.
Ma'am. Okay, is it a must to change the sign to let's say
because at the last question, the previous question, we had division, and now you changed it to multiplication. Is it a must to change it into multiplication all the time?
If it's a division sign, you have to change it to a multiplication sign.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Yes, there we go. I'm getting some good answers coming in this chat. That's what I want to see. So if we're having a look here, we can take out a highest common factor, and our highest common factor, if we look at our numbers, what goes into 3 and 9? 3, and d squared and d. Remember, we always take the variable with the lowest exponent. So my highest common factor is 3d, and I'd be left with d plus 3. So all we've done there is we have taken out our highest common factor. Okay. Now that we've taken out our highest common factor, so we factorized what we could factorize. Now we get to do the fun bit, which is cross simplifying. So we look at our diagonals. So this d plus 3 can cancel with that d plus 3. This 4 goes into itself once and into 8 2 times. So what I'm left with is 3d over 1 times 2 over 1, because there's nothing there at the bottom at the moment. Okay. And 3d times 2 gives me 6d, and I can write over 1, or I can just leave it as 6d. You can do it like that, or you could just say 6d like that. So for this one, you would have probably only gotten 2 marks. 1 for factorizing and 1 for your answer. Does anyone have any questions about what you're currently looking at on the screen? This is your time.
Screenshot and correct, guys. I believe you wrote on your books. Do corrections.
Two marks are too small, I know. Tomato, how can I help?
Ma'am, I'm confused about the second last part.
This part over here.
Yes.
So all I'm doing is I'm writing it with what I've cancelled. So that d plus 3 cancelled with that d plus 3. So I've just got 3d at the top, and this 4 goes into itself once and into 8 2 times. So I'm left with 3d over 1. And then on this side, I'm just left with the 2 over 1. So I'm just writing what I have left of my fraction now that I've cancelled things. But you also don't have to show that step if you don't want to. You can jump straight from there to there. Yeah, so if the sign is already a multiplication sign, you don't have to change anything because it's already done for you. Okay, cool. Now this one, I'm just going to help you out in the first step. When you're given a whole number like this, just remember that that's actually over 1. So if you're given a whole number that doesn't have a denominator, you can always just put it over 1, and then you have a fraction, and you can think about it the same way. Okay, so my hint to you for this first one is we need to change that sign because we've got a division sign. So we're going to need to do something to make it a multiplication sign. We're going to think KFC, and then we are going to need to factorize that guy. So I'd love for you to all give this a question, like give it a go. Try and write all the steps down on your side and see how it goes. Because remember, you learn more from your mistakes than from not trying. So rather do something and see where you're going wrong, and we can try and help you with where you're going wrong than just being like, no, it's too hard, I can't do it. Always give things a try.
Do this, guys. Let's do it. I see you, Lufuno. Let's work. Guys, write it on your books. Like this, you will know where you went wrong. Okay, so you can be able to see, oh, I went wrong there.
And also, if you have it on your books, then when you're revising for your exams, you've got all of these questions that you can sort of do over. You can try them again with the memos, so you know you're right. Exponents, we've actually already done exponents. We did exponents in our, I think it was our first course of the year. So all of those videos will be on the website, and you're welcome to go and have a look at them. Give them a watch.
Are we winning, guys?
Hopefully we're making some good progress here. Okay. Let's go. Let's start with, I think the very first hand that came up was Unati. So let me go there first. Unati, can you help us out? What is my next line of this question going to look like?
Ma'am, you have to change the sign, so you're gonna do KFC.
Good. I'm going to keep my first fraction. Keep it the same. I'm going to flip my second fraction, and I'm going to change my sign. Are you happy with what I've written?
Yes, ma'am.
Excellent. Okay, guys, so if you did this step over here, you get a whole mark for doing your KFC. So you get a mark for keeping your first fraction, flipping your second fraction, and changing your sign. Okay, cool. Unati, talk me through the next step.
Ma'am, and then what do you call this step? Ma'am, is a difference of two squares.
So this one is trinomial.
Ma'am, I forgot the step, but I did it.
That's okay. That's okay. You can just tell me what your next line looks like.
Ma'am, two brackets.
Yeah.
And then X in both brackets. Since the last sign is a minus, the signs are gonna be different.
Good.
Ma'am, and then in the first bracket, you're gonna put 3 plus 2.
Good. Excellent. Rita, I see you in the comments. Well done. Excellent. Nice job. Okay, so that's going to be over 2. And then I'm saying times 1 over x minus 3. What can I do now?
Ma'am, now you cancel x minus 3 and the other.
Good. So what's my final answer here?
I got x times 1 as my final answer.
X times, oh, you know what you did?
Ma'am, isn't it one term since there's no plus on the denominator?
No, you're in here because this whole thing, this whole bracket is one thing. It's one thing. So I can't cancel into something. It has to be exactly the same for me to cancel. So at the denominator, I'd have to have x plus 2.
Okay, ma'am.
So think about those brackets as like hugging them together. They're like forcing them together. So unless there's something which is exactly the same as those things somewhere else, we have to leave them alone.
Ma'am, so your final answer is x plus 2 over 2.
There we go. Nice. You see, so if you were to write it like that, do you see how those 2's can't cancel? Because there's that plus sign at the top. So if you write it like that, it's easier to see, okay, there's 2 different terms, and so I'm not allowed to cancel. The 2 hands that are up at the moment, if you were wanting to answer, do you mind taking your hand down for me? And if you have a question, then keep your hand up. Okay, Nkateko, how can I help?
Ma'am, I wanted to ask, when are we going to start with solving equations for fractions?
So we're going to start equations on Thursday, but I don't know if we'll get to fractions just yet. We'll probably only get to fractions the following week.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. Okay. Yes, you are definitely going to do something. Oh, sorry, it's our brain break. Okay. I went with the same theme as we went with last week because I thought it was fun hearing some people's answers. Okay, you see a boat that is filled with people. It has not sunk, but when you look again, you don't see a single person on the boat. Why? Kira, do you have my answer?
Okay. So all the people on the boat are married.
Yes! You were too quick!
Oh my word.
I heard this one.
So quickly.
I heard this one before.
Oh,
Wow. Oh, I was
find
still
ones that are
grinding
harder
my
for you
teeth
guys.
like, oh, juicy. And then
I
Kiara
was
just
ready,
came
eh?
down and just,
She was like, I've got this. That hand was up as soon as the question was on the screen. Nice
Well
job, Kara. Well
done.
done. Let's have a look at some of the answers that are coming in. A dinosaur ate them. Kate. I don't even know what to do with that. Okay, but we do have quite a few people who saw that there was because they were married. They are on their stomachs. Goodness. Okay. Let's have a look. Kate, your first answer was right. You got there. There was a shark involved. I wouldn't do that to you. Okay, so for anyone who wants to know if you have this as a riddle, it's because all the people are couples or they are all married, but there is no one who is single like this, single. That was the key to this little riddle. Hopefully that gave your brain a bit of a break and we can jump back into some factorization. Brain break time. Yeah, it was sneaky.
It did. It was super nice because I was like still, and then after I'm like, what?
How quickly Kira got that though, but she, yeah, that was very, very quick. Okay, let's have a look at this one. So now this one is a juicy question because we're going to have to factorize everything. Okay, so you're going to have to change your sign. I'm just going to write some little keynotes for you over here to try and help you as you move through this. Okay, you're going to have to do KFC. So you're going to have to change that divide to a times. And you are going to have to factorize everything. Every single thing is going to be factorized. And when I say everything, I mean this can be factorized, this can be factorized, this can be factorized, and that can be factorized. All of them can be factorized. Okay, and when we're thinking about factorization, think about our different things. We've got our highest common factor as an option. We've got difference of two squares as an option. And we've got trinomials as an option. Okay, give it a try. So first step, first thing you just need to focus on, because I know when you see a question like this, it's going to feel overwhelming. Okay, and a question like this will be worth 6 marks. So your first thing, just think about it one step at a time. First step, do KFC. Then you know you've got a mark. Then you try your next thing.
Just looks like a monster, but I promise you, it's a dog with no teeth. So just follow.
Oh, it does. It looks so mean, but it's not. I love that, Yolanda. A dog with no teeth.
Yeah, just because I'm scared of dogs. That's why you.
Oh, I'm also cold. For those of you who are saying you're cold in the chat, I'm also cold. Yes, sir. Are you giving me answers or are you giving me questions?
Ma'am, I just wanted to, oh no, I just wanted to ask, what does KFC stand for?
Keep, flip, change.
Okay, thank you. And I also wanted to say, when you're working out the sum, so like I know we I like flipped the second one. So then like do we factor out, not how do I never mind, ma'am. I'll just wait for the correction.
Fatu, are you going to give me an answer here or do you have a question?
Ma'am, I want to give the answer.
Okay, talk me through. What's the first thing I'm going to do?
Okay, so ma'am, you're going to start off by firstly doing KFC.
Good. So keep the first fraction. That's the K, keep. Flip. So flip the second fraction. And change the sign. So guys, if you did that, give yourselves 1 mark. Next step.
And then, ma'am, for the first fraction, we're going to start off by taking out a highest common factor.
Beautiful. So what would I be left with inside that bracket?
X minus 4.
Nice. Okay. Good.
Over.
What am I going to do at the bottom?
Take out another highest common factor.
Good.
Which is x squared.
Good.
Then we left with x minus 1.
Good. And you did not fall for the trap. You wrote your -1. That's beautiful. Okay. Times.
We're going to do a trinomial.
Good. Okay.
Ma'am, our x and x -3 and +1.
Oh, so close.
Oh my gosh.
+3 and -1.
Oh.
Because we need it to be +2. So if you had the -3 and the +1, it would be -2. But what you've done so far is great. So definitely don't give up. Keep going. It's just one baby mistake.
And now I'm lost.
No, don't be lost. Keep going. What do I do here at the bottom?
Okay, so ma'am, we're going to take out a highest common factor, which is 2.
Good. And what would I be left with?
X minus 4.
Good. Okay. So now just for those of you who are working on this on your side, you would get 1 mark for taking out the correct highest common factor and getting that bracket, 1 mark for getting the correct denominator there, 1 mark for the correct numerator there, and 1 mark for the correct denominator. So if you had made a similar mistake to the one that Fatu made over here, you would only lose 1 mark at this point. It's not a train smash at all. Okay. Okay. Do you think you can talk me through the end of this now?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Okay. So, ma'am, our x minus 1 is going to cancel with our x minus 1.
Good.
And then the x minus 4 is going to cancel the other x minus 4.
Good.
And then we left with x over x squared multiplied by x plus 3 over 2.
Can I simplify that x over x squared?
Yes, ma'am.
What can I simplify it to?
I don't know.
So over here, exactly. So I've got 1x at the top and 2 x's at the bottom, which means I can simplify that down to 1 over x. Okay. So what would my final answer be?
X plus 3 over
Good.
x over 2x.
Yes, well done. And you rolled with the punches. Excellent. Nice work. Good job.
Well done, Fatu.
I'm not going to give him a bow tie because then everyone says that I've decapitated him. But it's very happy. It's a very happy. I'll give it a flower. There we go. Okay. Okay, let's try and go through this sort of step by step. For those of you who are feeling a little bit lost, let's try and go through this together. So, first step over here. All we did in this very first step is we did KFC. Okay, so we kept our first fraction. We kept the first fraction. We flipped the second fraction. So this one was flipped and we changed the sign. Okay, so that was all we did in our first step. Second step is we factorized everything. So here we have x squared minus 4x, and we took out our highest common factor of x. We were left with x minus 4. Here we had x cubed minus x squared, and we took out our highest common factor of x squared, and we were left with x squared, x minus 1. Here we had x squared plus 2x minus 3, which is a trinomial, and so that factorized to x plus 3x minus 1. And our last step over here, we had, what color haven't I used? Green. We had 2x minus 8, and we took out our highest common factor of 2, and we were left with x minus 4. So all we did was this was a highest common factor. So we did a highest common factor, a highest common factor, a trinomial, a highest common factor. The hows that are coming in the chat, I don't know what those hows are for. Can you try and be a bit more clear so I know what you're asking how to? Okay.
Everyone.
Then we looked at what could cancel. So these x minus 4s were the same as each other, so they could cancel. And the x minus 1s were the same as each other, so they could cancel. So I was left with, on this side, I was left with the x over x squared. And on this side, I was left with the x plus 3 over 2, which is what I've written down here. Okay. And then we said, well, if I have x over x squared, I can simplify that down to 1 over x. And then I'd have x plus 3 over 2. And so I'm left with x plus 3 over 2x. Imad is saying, how do they think that the flower looks like a bomb? Just to sort of solve what people are getting confused with in the chat right now. It was not about the maths. Okay. Let's see. Okay, good. Starting to understand. That is great. Why was the previous question's answer x plus 3 over 2x? Where did the x come from the 2x? So the x came from over here, this x over here. When I multiplied my denominators, I got 2 times x, which was the 2x. That's where the x came from. Do we subtract? No, we can't subtract or add the numbers here because they're not like terms. So there's nothing I can do with x plus 3 because they're not the same as each other. Okay, cool. Okay, if you're wanting to get a screenshot of this entire question, I know it looks a little bit crazy now because of all of these highlighted things, but hopefully it makes some sense when you look at it. You can take a photo, but this is looking at this question.
Guys. Shine is your time. Take a screenshot.
What is fill up factors? I don't know what fill up factors means, Kate. Okay, so that would have been 4 marks, 1 mark, and then 1 mark for your final answer. So this would have been out of 6 marks. Okay, let's try to do one more for the evening. And then you're going to do a little quiz, which is going to sort of sum up factorization. This one's not so bad. Oh, I'm trying to think of, I don't want it to be too easy. Let's do this one. Okay. So do your steps as you need to. Remember, first thing that we're going to have to deal with is changing this divide sign to a times sign. And then we're going to go from there. I think you'll be surprised by how capable you are when you start working through this.
Let's go, guys. Let's put all those marks in the bag.
I'm just going to write the first step, just because if you mess up the first step, then everything starts sort of falling together. So the first thing that we want to do is we want to keep our first fraction. So 2b over b cubed minus 7b squared. So we're keeping our first fraction. We are flipping our second fraction. Okay, flipping the second fraction and changing the sign. That's our first step. So if you got that first step right, give yourselves a tick. Yeah, so sometimes you do have one where it's not over something. I will scroll back to that question though, don't panic, guys. Kind of like this one where you just had the x minus 3. So if you have a number that isn't over something, you can just make it over 1, and then it makes your life a bit easier. Okay. So that's our first step. Hopefully we found our first step okay. And then we are going to want to factorize those two. I know that the hands up are here to give me the answers, and I really appreciate it. I love hearing from you guys. I'm just going to go through this one myself, just in case we have anyone who's feeling a little bit lost. But it's not that I don't love you or want to hear from you. Okay. So now when we look at this, we have to think, how can we factorize these two things that I've highlighted in yellow? So let's have a look at this one down here first. How can I factorize b cubed minus 7b squared? Does anyone have any suggestions in the chat for me? How can I factorize b cubed minus 7b squared? What can I do? Great. I'm going to take out a highest common factor. And what is that highest common factor? What am I going to take out? B squared. There we go. Okay. So I'm going to have my 2b at the top. Nothing happens. And then I'm going to take out b squared as my highest common factor. And I'm left with b minus 7. That's that final answer. Okay, so if you got that part right, give yourselves another tick. Then we're going to look over here. Now I've got b squared minus 49. How can I factorize b squared minus 49? What can I do? Dots. Good. Remember, dots stands for difference. There's a difference sign. Of 2, there are 2 terms. Squares, they are both square numbers. Okay, so we can do dots. So I'm going to have b plus 7, b minus 7. And that's all over 4b. Okay, so now when we get to this point, we say, well, how can we start cancelling things? This b minus 7 is going to cancel with the b minus 7. And that b over there can cancel with that b over there. And this 2 can go into itself once, and it can go into 4 2 times. So that's all of our sort of simplifying. Then we look at how we can write this. So I've got 1 over b squared times b plus 7 over 2. That's what I'm left with after my cross simplification. And so then I just want to write my final answer. So I say 1 times b plus 7 is b plus 7, and b squared times 2 is 2b squared. So I want you to give yourself another mark if you were able to do difference of 2 squares, and then 1 mark for your, actually I'm going to give you 2 marks here, 1 for having the correct numerator and 1 for having the correct denominator. So 2, 4, 5 marks over here. Let me know how you did out of 5. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5 out of 5. Just to go over where your marks are. 1 for doing KFC, 1 for doing dots, 1 for doing HCF, 1 for your numerator, and 1 for your denominator. Nice job, guys. These are tough questions. If you're getting 3, that's great. Oh, it's okay. If you're still getting 0, it's okay. It's okay. Time and practice. Elena, I think Anam has become our new Alvarez. So claiming that they know nothing and then being able to do everything. That's Alvarez's game.
I realized in all the crimes.
All the crimes.
All hugs and laughter.
Goodness gracious. Oh wait, so don't worry, it does take a bit of time and practice, but they will start coming together. You remember you can rewatch this anytime. And you can go over them again and try them. And hopefully, like the second time it's all going through, it will start sort of becoming a little bit clearer in your head. Pumi, do you have a question?
Yes, ma'am. I wanted to ask about the second last sum, where it's open brackets b plus 7 close brackets over 2.
Yeah.
Weren't you supposed to like keep the 2b underneath?
So this b cancelled with that b. That b over there cancelled with that b over there. So that b went away. And that's why I was just left with a 2.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Sure. Mackenzie, how can I help?
Ma'am, how come in the last sum, where the denominator was x squared, we got rid of that x squared, but this one we kept one?
So here we were allowed to get rid of the x squared because we had x over x squared. And so we're not crossing over terms. We're just simplifying that. So we just made that 1 over x. But over here, we can't do that because this is being bound together. So I can't cancel those b's because then I'd be crossing over terms.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. All right, guys. On that lovely note, I'm going to hand you guys over to Yolanda so you can do the very quick quiz for this evening. And then on Thursday, we're going to start equations, which I'm very excited about. Equations. So I will see you on Thursday.
Before you go, Yolanda's lost on where to find the quiz because they didn't
I think just send the same link. It's just the normal Watobe link, and then from the class that